Sales reps with multiple account executive jobs or sales related jobs that are under a year with experience. I've been in the game for a little bit. I've seen a lot of it. But Gurminder, you see people next to you, right, that are probably considering other roles that maybe onboard at the same time as you, that onboard after you, and you see people go through the motions of the all-time highs and then the low of lows and reconsideration. I'll start. Reps with under a year of experience in account executive roles that that hop multiple jobs. Like I'm talking like 3, 4 jobs, maybe 5 if they can. That to me is a red flag. And I am more curious. I just want to know, why is that the case? I'm more
Why do you
curious
think it's a
towards
red
that.
flag?
Because I know for a fact that it takes about a year and a half to be fully efficient at the job. And I also
I
know at
can
the
see the passion
biz
in the eyes.
yeah, in a business
Uh,
perspective, okay, the seller really isn't an investment until we cross that range of they are contributing more to what the expense is, which is like their salary, their base pay, their licenses, and all those things, right? And the
yeah.
commissions, etc. And so to give up before that, I'm curious to know why. And so that's my opinion on it. We can get deep into it in this conversation, but I want to know from your perspective as well, like what are you seeing and how do you feel about that topic?
Before I forget, I feel like there's a giving up aspect, and there's the whole aspect of switching jobs, and I want to know your take on that
Mm,
as well. For
okay.
example, you go into a role, you're maybe only 6, 7 months in, and then a different organization, they offer you more pay and more OTE. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
That is a tough one. There is a sense of, there's two pieces to that, and I'll say both of them, and then I'll tell you what I think very briefly. Two pieces that. The first piece, there's a sense of loyalty that I
Yeah.
think that I would have with my sales leadership team. There's a sense of that. And then I think the new age way of thinking is there is no sense of loyalty towards employees, so why would I not take care of myself too? Right? Both valid, by the way. I see leadership different from organization. Like my direct leader is going to be different from how I view the organization.
Yep.
And I also do feel like we have to take care of ourselves as well. My opinion on that is just let your boss know. I would let my boss know. I'd be like, hey, this opportunity came up. I haven't pursued it yet, or maybe I'm in process of chatting with them. I wanted to give you a heads up, and I think that's as much courtesy as you can give, and uh, as you could give to somebody. So that's how I see it. Yeah. But overall, I'm a huge believer you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your family. There's an opportunity
Yep.
that you truly believe that is better for yourself and your career. Nothing should stop you from doing that. I think it's more of communication, transparency that is appreciated in our industry
Yep.
that often is looked or frowned upon.
Makes sense.
Thoughts on that? Yeah.
I agree. I do 1000% agree, but there's still that other side of me where you said just wait out the year and see what happens. Because at the end of the day, for it to just be like a what if situation, you had such a good opportunity, this job, it was so good, and maybe a nicer one, like it popped up in the moment, but I still think better ones are still going to pop up. So just
Right.
wait the year out, see how it makes you feel, see what you learn, see how much, your ceiling actually is at the organization, and then you can hop ship if it doesn't make sense for you. But I still think whenever you get a job, the only reason why you should spend less than a year at that job is if you get laid off or you get fired for whatever reason. Other than that,
Mm.
I think even if you have like a nicer offer, you should still stay at the organization that you're at right now, because it's a sense of loyalty to the leadership team. But then there's also that different aspect that my leader
Yeah.
doesn't have any type of loyalty towards me, but I have loyalty towards my leader. I do have loyalty towards my leader. And if my leader told me
Me too. Yeah.
this, like, I've spent all this time onboarding you, like, we went through all these training sessions together, and then I just leave, like, with all, and then my leader's sitting there wondering, okay, now what do I do with these accounts? how do I move these off of people? Like, what do I do? Like, I went through
Right.
all these training sessions with you. One, it's a waste of your time. And two, I would argue that it's also a waste of my time as well, because I spent this whole time giving everyone like a false sense of belief that he's going to be at this organization for a while. Let's dump our skills into him. Let's invest in him a ton. And I just leave. I think that's wrong. I don't think that's okay, because that's going to one day come around, and
Mm,
maybe I'd be on the receiving end of that when I'm a leader, because as a leader, I would never want that to happen to me. No
right.
way. That's where perspective comes into it as well. If you put yourself in anyone else's shoes, would you want it done to you? Absolutely not. No chance.
Yeah.
Or
No chance.
then, if you do want to leave, if there is that feeling inside of you that leaving is what's best for you and your family, have the conversation with your leader and give them a
Hmm.
notice a month in advance, because no way,
Yeah.
no way that you only know of the job like 2 weeks in advance. Like, we know that an interview process, it takes 2 months. You
Takes
start
takes a while.
if if
Yeah.
you start interviewing, let your leader know. Let
Yeah.
your leader know.
Yeah. If you're like in just like I always encourage like, hey, have your coffee chats, right? Like
Yep.
I'm a believer in that. Like if someone reaches out to me, I always want to learn more and be curious about it. But as soon as there's the aspect of all right, now send in your application and like have a full-on interview or prepare for it, that's when I'm like, okay, cool. Like maybe after that one, have that conversation now because you're in the process, right? And to the point of reps with under 1 year, I do feel like maybe it's not the right role for them, but if you have multiple ones like that, we got to start looking inwards. Like we got
Yeah.
to start saying like, hey, is it the hard work that's pushing me away? Is this just not right for me? Is sales just not right for me? Because they got to stop um, burning resources. Because I know for a fact when I was looking to kickstart my sales career, I would die to get started in tech sales, get a role. I would bust my ass off. I would do everything I can to prepare for these interviews, and I couldn't quite get it. But then there's these seasoned sales reps that would hop job to job within 6 to 8 months, and they just take up roles. They just
But
take up
someone
resources. Yeah.
someone who leaves like before the year mark and they're saying that the role wasn't for me, how do you know the role wasn't for you? You didn't even spend a year there. There's there's
Hey,
I don't know.
I
I don't know.
I don't know either. I just know that if you do it multiple times, then the common denominator is a sales rep, is a seller.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like there is an aspect of it. Is it because it was too hard? Did we not understand it? Was there effort missing from their piece? That's where I'm like, hey, maybe you need to look inwards before you start applying again because it's a
What are
disservice
your
for the
thoughts on
industry. Yep.
what are your thoughts on the it's
Yep.
just not for me? Like, it's just not me it's just not for me statement. Like the job, it just doesn't align with my skill set. What are your thoughts on that? Because I've heard it a ton. I'm sure you've heard it a ton.
I see it as there is, I'll get straight to it. I'm not even going to butter it up. When someone says, hey, the job's not for me or the role's not for me, and they've applied to three of the same titled roles, you just don't have the skill set or tenacity to want to
Yep.
build that skill set. Because sales overall, I think, is it's the same everywhere. There's the admin pieces that are very, very different, but then the sales portion of it, the communication portion of it, the process remains the same. So if you say it's not for you, if it's the admin process for all three jobs, maybe what you need to do is work on your admin organization time structure.
Yep.
If it is the job itself and you're talking about like the product or the the I don't know, like the product or the customers, then you've given up on that sales aspect of trying to
Yeah.
understand your customer and trying to learn that communication skill. If you're talking about the organization isn't right for you, like hey, they just do things differently. I don't vibe with my leadership and how they run their business. I think you should have figured that out in your interview process. So that's on you again if it's a reoccurring thing. If it was a one-time thing, I totally understand. That's totally cool. I get it. Like, we sign up for the wrong things, but if you do it three
Yep.
times, it's you.
Yeah. Without a doubt. And I think saying that it's just not for me, to your point, that's just to me it sounds like you're just not willing to put in the work to build out your skill set. For you to
Mm,
say it's just
yeah,
I can't do it, it's not for me at all, that means you're not willing to go through the motions and the reps of doing what you need to do to make it for you.
yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
I mean, like
So
you
many
could either see it as a hurdle or you could see it as a challenge, right? And that's what I think is a big part of it. See it as an opportunity to be like, hey, you know what? Like, this is tough. This is a tough job, but I'm gonna be number one at the end of this.
Yep,
I'm gonna give myself
yep,
a time frame, whether it's a year, whether it's 2 years, but I'm gonna be up on top. That means
yeah.
so much more for the individual personally to have that mindset of tenacity over amount. For granted, I know that people will say it out of just saying it. They get frustrated and they'll say, I'm done. I'm done with this. It's not for me. And
Yeah.
then they go back to the next day and they hustle and bustle their ass off, right? Hustle their booty cheeks off. There are people that also are like, hey, I'm done. And they actually mean it and they start hunting for new jobs. Those
There's
are
the
the ones,
perspective side to everything
right?
though. You
Right.
could look at any piece of life and you could look at it in two different ways. It's just not for me. That's one side of the coin. And then the other side of the coin is it's not for me right now, but I'm going to build out the skill set to make it for me. You
Yeah.
could look at any situation in life and figure out the positive in it if you
Yeah.
want to, of course.
I agree. That comes back to the prospecting piece.
Yep.
That is what takes people away the first. Like it just demotivates people the first and it pushes them to leave their jobs, their sales jobs. It's a prospecting aspect. A lot of them switch because they go into the interview and they say, oh yeah, totally, like I love doing that, like I'm totally
Yeah.
cool doing that. They get into the
Yep.
role and it's like pulling teeth to prospect. That is when they look for something else and then they go to a different job interview and they're like, yeah, there's some outbounding aspects to it, depending on the business needs. They go into it, same issue, and they're like, nah, this isn't for me. I gotta
Yeah.
look for something else, right? So reps with under 1 year with multiple sales jobs, I think just leave. Just go, just do a non-customer facing role that can just get you to where you'd like to be with your personal life because it probably isn't right for you. And then I'll share this one last piece. People that leave sales always look at sales. It's like being on the sidelines of a soccer game. You're never going to get to play, and they're the ones that are celebrating. They're the ones that are putting in all the hard work and playing the game. And if you're not in sales, you're just sitting on the sidelines, just being like, oh, that looks really fun. And then when you hop on the
Yeah.
field again and you decide not to play and you quit, like it's just that cycle. So
Yeah.
that's what I'd say.
You need to absolutely fall in love with the process though, and
Yeah.
just completely detach yourself from any type of outcome.
Right. You can't be like, hey, I play soccer. I hate passing the ball, so I'm gonna join a different team. It's just part of the.
Exactly.
It's just part. Just, yeah, it's just part of the game. Like you got to do that. What
No,
the
I'm
heck?
not playing basketball. I'm not shooting
Yeah.
anymore. I'm not shooting. I'm not
Yeah.
shooting.
I'm shooting.
That
It's
that's one
part
of
of
the
it,
best
man. Yeah.
analogies I've ever heard for prospecting. That's the best analogy I've ever heard. That is gold.
Yeah. There was the one that we talked about on the team. It's like, hey, if you choose not to make coffee anymore, you can't work at Starbucks. That's just it,
Literally, literally,
right? If you
literally,
choose not to prospect anymore, you don't get to keep your sales job. Like,
exactly.
whereas,
It just it's part of the game. It's part of the role. It's what you signed up for. There's zero reason why you shouldn't be doing your
right?
dials. You shouldn't be sending out your emails. You have to
Yeah,
do it. To your point, if you're playing golf, you're just not going to stop swinging. Like it comes
right.
with it. Like
Just
it
comes with
comes
it. You're
with
like,
it.
I don't like swing. What?
Yeah,
It's a big part of it. Yeah, I just
you
want to hit
have to
those
do
hole
it.
in ones. You think hole in ones just happened? Come on now. What the heck? Yeah. All right. I think
It's
we're
hilarious.
Pretty good on that. Rep. So verdict for you: reps with under 1 year experience in multiple sales roles. Thoughts? Final
Verdict
verdict. I've
is
said my piece.
there's two pieces. The people who get a better offering, completely different, but I also think there has to be a sense of respect for your senior leadership team and letting them know like a couple months in advance your reasoning behind why doing it. And then there's also the people who say it's just not for me. And I'm going to be completely honest. I disagree. I disagree with people who
Mm,
say that. It doesn't make sense. At least spend a year, and then if you say it's not for me, and then you go into another sales role, and you also say it's not for me, that's just a matter of you're being lazy and you're not willing to build out your skill set to make it for you, because you can make anything in the world for you. People who start off in the gym right away, of
mm-hmm.
course it's not for you, but over time, like, you start learning
Yeah.
like the ideal rep range, you start learning like the best technique to do the exercise, everything
Yeah.
starts clicking a year or two in. And that's also in sales or any type of job. Everything starts clicking a year or two in. Spend the first year to build out your skills. And I think organizations know that as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that they're not expecting someone to come in and just completely blow their investment out of the water and in 2 3 months into
Mm-hmm.
the role and crushing quota. They know that it's going to take 8 9 months for them to settle in. And then within the
Yeah.
next year, quarter 1, January, that's when
Mm-hmm.
like everything starts to make sense.
Yeah. I agree. All right. Moving topics. You ready for the next one?
Ready to go?
Pretty good. This one, imposter syndrome. I'll stop the recording.